I think should be the starter. Currently, Colin, believe this, he's working behind Kirk Cousins and AOC. Aiden O'Connell, yes, that's real. Fernando Mendoza basically working with the third team right now, paying his dues and learning the ropes. I don't love that at all. But here's Mendoza talking about his development with the squad.
There's always a transition, especially from the college level to the NFL level, and it's having those positive stressors and that growing period, and there's going to be some growing pains. And luckily, I feel confident that I'm able to see the field well and that my growing pains are coming from, hey, I got to time up my footwork a little better with the routes and intricacies here and there. And I'm really working hard with the coaching staff who's pushing me and have done a phenomenal job of relaying and communicating the information needed. And it's up to me to take full advantage of that.
Always says the right thing. Yeah, that is a 30% of being a quarterback is not starting fires. Always saying the right thing at the podium, to the media, to your teammates, to your coaches. He always says the right stuff. Sharp kid. I really can't wait to watch him play.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm a little surprised he didn't make that top jersey list. No surprise Sam Darnold didn't make it, but I'm surprised Mendoza, #1 overall pick.
Darnold was only 49th out of 50. Isn't that crazy?
What do you think that tells you, huh? That say anything?
Well, I think the Seahawks were known for running the football and defense and their fan base. And, Darnold had just gotten there, so he hasn't built much up. He hasn't built much up. He hasn't played college in a long time. He was invisible for years. He was at the Jets, Carolina, and backed up in San Francisco. So Sam's only really been in the forefront for 2 years.
All right. They basically wrap up the segment there, and I suppose we're just not going to discuss Fernando Mendoza. Well, I'm going to discuss Mendoza and the Raiders. First of all, that merchandise list they're referencing, there simply wasn't enough time for Mendoza to appear on it, okay? Like, oh my goodness. And I love, first off, everything Mendoza says is so intelligent because not only does he say the appropriate things. A lot of the time you can stand at the microphone and say the right things, but it comes across as generic filler. What he's saying, however, also demonstrates actual technical football knowledge. He knows precisely what he needs to improve on, exactly what he's doing, and his exchanges with his coach are fantastic. I just love it, man. I love everything the Raiders are doing, and I keep saying that in every video because I feel it deep in my bones, man. I feel it in my core. Someone mentioned that they think I'm secretly becoming a Raiders fan, and I responded that I am simply someone who does his utmost to remain as impartial and level-headed as I possibly can. And it's just that I genuinely love what the Raiders are doing, and I'm going to explain why, whether it's first team, second team, third team. But before I dive in, please, 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 Raiders fans, do not forget to subscribe and watch the full-length video. When you do that, viewership numbers skyrocket, subscriber counts skyrocket, and it's not about chasing views, it's not about chasing subscribers, it's about being able to produce Raiders content that people genuinely want to watch and discuss. So we can continue having the most impartial, grounded, and honest conversations about the Raiders. I mean, seriously, watching the full-length video makes such an enormous difference, and I would really, really appreciate it. You guys know I'm fully committed to creating as much Raiders content as I possibly can, and I just love that people keep getting things wrong. It's so much better for me and more enjoyable for me to watch them be wrong because then I get to say, whoa, 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 let's stop right there. Sometimes people will claim, you just disagree for the sake of disagreeing. And I respond, no, that's not the case. If I'm disagreeing, it's because I truly disagree. And if I agree, then I agree. But here's the thing, it's just so smart to begin with the lowest, easiest part of this. The entire notion of throwing someone into shark-infested waters, right? That whole sink or swim approach. The Raiders are taking their time. They are currently giving us an absolute master class in quarterback development. They are giving us an absolute master class in being patient and understanding how to develop a quarterback. And they're doing it from the very start to eliminate any expectations. They're wiping away all expectations and all pressure. They are. Essentially saying, buddy, we are starting you at the bottom because that's simply what we're going to do. Not because you were somewhere else and we're demoting you because you're not good enough. We're starting you here. You are a rookie. You need to be developed. You need to grow. You need to learn. At the end of the day, a college program and an NFL program are night and day apart. They are night and day apart. Being in college is such a unique experience. And being in the NFL is a wildly, insanely unique experience. It's just different. It's just different. And so that transition alone is its own journey, its own process. So I love that Jamar keeps pushing and saying, wait, why is he, oh, wow, he's with the third team. And my response is, yeah, and that's awesome. It makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. And it allows everyone to simply grow. It gives everyone room to still make mistakes. It establishes understanding, expectations, and clarity. I talk about clarity all the time. Clarity for the team. They're saying, yes, this is where we are right now because this is what makes the most sense. So I just love it from every angle. This is something many parents do with their kids, not only in sports programs but also in schooling. They have a bit more control over this with education. If you went to a school where you had different levels of, say, math, honors, AP, accelerated, regular, you could be placed at different tiers depending on the school. And many parents will sometimes say, I want my kid in honors. I want him in AP. And that's forcing him into a class where he maybe shouldn't be, where he's going to struggle, or where he'll have to work so hard just to stay afloat. Whereas if you actually started where he currently is, he would naturally be able to develop. It's not that it will automatically hold you back, but it will naturally develop you. In a strange way, we even see this with sports now and with athletes. Athletes are much better and more resistant to injury, more resilient, when they play multiple sports rather than specializing at a young age. They become better athletes and can reach higher levels when they participate in multiple sports. And I feel that. I've said that I no longer define myself by a specific sport. I don't really define myself at all, but I see myself as an athlete. A lot of times people ask, oh, what's your background? And at this point, I look at it as, on a scale, and again, I'm no professional, but on a scale, I'm definitely above average when it comes to athleticism. That's because I can jump into almost anything athletically, right? Anything. And this really rang true for me when I watched LeBron James try to hit a golf ball, or when I watched Joe Burrow try to throw a baseball. I've shown you highlights of that before, and I just think, these guys, I saw Saquon Barkley throw out the ceremonial first pitch at a Phillies game. I was watching on TV, and I thought, oh my gosh, what was T? Hat? And it's because they're so specialized in one very specific path. So when you give people room to breathe, a versatility can grow. And that is exactly what the Raiders are doing. And I just love it. I just love it. They're meeting him where he is. They're not trying to force anything. And if he's clearly above and beyond, we've even talked about how he needs to work on his footwork, getting his footwork more timed with the route, getting that more aligned, being able to do that with the third team rather than the first team allows him to focus on what he needs to focus on. He's able to just do what he needs to do. Also, it allows the more experienced veteran players to get the reps they need because they're not being somewhat held back by a quarterback who is literally learning how to play football at the NFL level. It's simply beautiful coaching. Beautiful management. Beautiful individual management and beautiful team management. It's just perfect. So the fact that anyone could have any reaction other than I love this means you have to understand coaching. You have to understand the process of growth and development. Right? You have to understand that. Also, you have to understand that it's not just about Mendoza, there are other players who also need this offense to get up to speed. That's why one of the best things about bringing Cousins there is that some of the things Clint Kubiak wants to implement and work on require everyone else to be on the same page. He needs the receivers, the running backs, the left tackle, the right side, he needs all of that aligned. Mendoza is, in many ways, his own project. And if you're trying to do everything at the same time, that's not the best situation for the offense. So yes, you're going to have an Aiden O'Connell. I say this all the time, I've been shouting this. If you've been in the NFL for a few years and you're good enough to still be on a team, and they'll even put you in a game if someone gets injured, you're going to have an advantage. AOC is going to have an advantage over Mendoza. It's experience. That's how it works. People still struggle to understand that. People lost their minds when I said, you know what? Kenny Pickett will have a better understanding of football and the NFL than Shedeur Sanders would have. People lost their minds. Oh, Kenny Pickett is terrible. And I said, he's been in the NFL for a few years. That's the advantage. That's the actual genuine advantage. I don't know how long that advantage will last, but in the very beginning, when they're not even wearing pads and they're just having conversations and doing drills, yes, Kenny Pickett is going to have a better understanding. He's going to be able to interact with the coaches and the team. He's been here before. He did it last year and the year before, so he just understands what this even looks like. He's not trying to figure it out in real time. That stuff matters. I don't know why it gets downplayed. I really don't. I really don't. And it's something that drives me crazy. I just know from my own development, and you'll see this probably most not in college. You'll see it in high school, I think, more than anywhere else, would be my guess. You'll have the seniors and juniors, the kids who have actually grown, who have hit puberty and all that, and then you'll have a lot of freshmen or even sophomores who are thinking, oh my gosh, I'm in high school now, and the world is just changing for them. A lot of times, teams will throw them together, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, again, it really depends on the program. And I've been on both sides of this. On one side, it's really valuable to have some of those interactions. I do remember being a freshman and going to the team, being with the seniors, the leaders, they're men, and you know it, and you see how they practice, how they handle things. But I couldn't grow in that immediate moment because they were so good. Yes, I was learning by observing to a degree, but when it was time for me to actually do drills and do things, first of all, seniors aren't notoriously very nice to freshmen, that's not necessarily in their nature. And I look back on that and think, you know what? Maybe some summer workouts like that could be somewhat beneficial. The stakes are a lot lower, a little less pressure. But then I feel like you'd want to ease into that, and you could grow when you're with your own group, understanding that there are different gaps right now. There are different gaps, rather than immediately, in spring and summer workouts, throwing everyone together and saying, make it work. There's an argument for that, and eventually you all do have to come together because you're going to be on the same team. But I just think some of that separation, getting people up to speed, is valuable. And again, in many ways, that's what's happening here as well. You're taking off the burden. You're removing the burden. I always talk about coaches needing to take things off their quarterbacks' plates, or any player, really, but especially a quarterback. Stop putting the weight of the world on their shoulders. And this is, again, perfect. I know I'm going on about this because I can't tell you how awesome this is. I can't tell you how awesome this is, and yet people try to act confused by it, or claim it's actually not right, or suggest it's somehow an indicator of Mendoza's quality or play. That's just confusion at that point. And if you remember the contrast, and I'll end here, when Shedeur was taking non-first team reps, there was a meltdown. There was an absolute meltdown about it. An absolute meltdown. You would have thought it was the biggest controversy in the NFL. And it's like, what? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? So, I love it. Those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you all think about Fernando Mendoza, the Las Vegas Raiders, how they're handling the growth and development? Say it with me, growth and development, Fernando Mendoza. I mean, that's the new song, man, that's hitting the charts everywhere. Let me know your thoughts. I read every single comment, whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get into some discussions, let's get into some debates, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. Please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.